Hi, I'm James Kotecki. You're here with me in the C-Space Influencer Studio here at CES 2019. And here with us is Dave Etherington, the Chief Commercial Officer at Place Exchange. Thanks so much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
So, for those of us who don't know what Place Exchange is, what do you say to someone when you meet them here at CES?
I've been saying this a lot. We're an SSP that connects programmatic buyers to the vast array of digital out-of-home assets in the country, really, truly programmatically for the first time.
So tell me about that vast array. What's included in that definition of that umbrella?
Well, I mean, lots. I think one of the brilliant things about out-of-home is it's so diverse. You know, everything from giant digital billboards on the side of interstate highways to ads inside taxis, on top of taxis, inside elevators, gyms, restaurants, bus shelters, totems that provide free Wi-Fi. I mean, it really is exploding in diversity.
So give me some examples, drill down a little bit into what you're specifically doing for clients. What do you make possible for them today that wouldn't otherwise be possible for them to do?
So essentially what we've done, the secret sauce of Place Exchange and our kind of proprietary technology normalizes all of that great diversity and very simply just makes it look and feel and work exactly like other programmatic medias like, excuse me, mobile and online within a DSP like a Mobi for the very first time. So we can tell you once somebody's been exposed to an ad, what actions do they then take? Do they buy something online? Do they visit a shop? Do they download an app, etc.? So really we've brought out-of-home into the programmatic ecosystem for the very first time.
And so programmatic ad buying has been around for a long time. What was the challenge and the holdup to actually do it with digital out-of-home advertising?
Well, I mean, unlike traditional programmatic, you know, digital out-of-home operates an entirely separate ecosystem. It's not generally connected to the internet. And so it's taken a while, I think, for a number of different reasons. Number one, we needed to wait for this moment in time where there was this proliferation of digital displays in cities around the world where you had this reach. Those digital displays needed to be IP enabled. It wasn't just good enough to be a TV screen that you could change creative of. It needed to be connected to the internet. I also think we needed to wait for programmatic buyers and brands to really want the medium, to want it to be part of this omni-channel ecosystem. And I think we've reached that moment in the kind of consciousness of the buyers where they realize now that digital out-of-home can be part of this omni-channel perspective of the world.
And we were speaking about this yesterday here in the C-Space Influencer Studio with Katie Ford at Mobi. I mean, is the idea kind of that from a consumer perspective, it's just less annoying? They're not necessarily thinking, oh, everything's so super targeted to me. It's just less things that are being shown to me that aren't relevant to me. Yeah,
I mean, I think one of the great evolutions of digital out-of-home is, you know, one time it just used to be a wallpaper of ads. There was nothing else going on. And I think, you know, media owners kept their fingers crossed that you would see the ads and something would happen. I think in the past couple of years, out-of-home media owners have started to think like publishers. And so content and utility, thinking about consumers and that kind of flow of information and value proposition has started to kind of pervade the medium. And so consumers now for the very first time are beginning to tune in. And I think the brilliant thing about bringing digital out-of-home into programmatic is that whilst ads I don't think will ever be tailored to the individual for a number of different reasons, privacy and actually where is the use case, business case for that, I think we will start to see ads that are contextually appropriate by location, appropriate by time of day, weather, all of those things, and so do feel more meaningful.
And you mentioned the word publisher, which makes me think about the idea of storytelling. Are there different ways that you can, I mean, the idea of storytelling and digital out-of-home might not have even necessarily gone together before, but of course advertisers and creatives have talked about storytelling for a long time. Are there different ways that you can communicate a message and even think about storytelling now that you couldn't do before?
Totally. I mean, you know, start with the idea that Americans on average spend 70% of their time out of the home. It's an enormous amount of time that they spend in cities and towns. There's so much hidden context in cities, both from like, you know, Sylvia Plath at the bell jar in that apartment over there to my, you know, parents had their first kiss in this restaurant. You know, there's so much storytelling. You know, hip hop was invented there. The medium in the physical world does have this ability to tell those stories. Brands have that ability to help tell those stories and enable people to tune in. So yeah, I think storytelling, continuing narratives across screens in the same seamless ways that consumers you know, seamlessly move from screen to screen in physical space, I think is an enormously attractive proposition.
And how does this relate to the way that consumers will then be looking at their devices and their smartwatches? How do all these digital out-of-home displays then relate to what's on my person?
Well, I think in a number of ways. You know, if we through a relationship with Amobi, are able to enable brands and programmatic buyers to buy audiences through these different channels, then those advertising experiences should be kind of seamlessly connected. But I think at the other side of it, I think out-of-home publishers are trying to get people to leave those mobile devices in their pockets a little bit longer by telling them, you know, the subway delay is X, look up, that, you know, thanks to its ability to understand its exact location, its context, and, you know, broadcast useful information through those different screens. I think there are lots of great use cases where people can keep those phones in their pockets a little bit longer and just look up and navigate their way through their daily journeys in far more fluid ways.
And I suppose, is there also some advantage to the fact that with out-of-home advertising, you know, or at least you're pretty sure that actually a group of people is watching it? It's something that you experience as a group of people rather than something that I'm looking at on my own kind of individual device.
Yeah, I mean, there is this sense of community, and it's obviously different, you know, as I mentioned before, that great diversity of out-of-home. Some of it's one-to-one, you're filling up a car at a gas station, that's very much a one-to-one. Or you're driving on a freeway with, you know, a traffic jam, and then, you know, there's lots of people looking at it. But yes, there is this sense of one-to-many in a programmatic context that really, before, only used to deal with one-to-one.
So, can I ask you a conspiratorial question about gas station TV pumps?
Please.
This is just my own personal weird thing.
Right.
Do they take longer to pump the gas when they have the TV there? And is that because they want to keep me there a little bit longer so that they can say that they've shown me a certain number of ads? Does the gas go slower?
Does the gas go slower? I wish I could have an informed answer on this. I know very well the CEO of GSTV, Gas Station TV. I don't believe they would ever do that. They're a very successful company without having to slow down the gas.
Sure, and you know, I apologize for the weird curveball question. That's just like something that I was just wondering about one day as I was pumping my gas, and I'm like, I got the perfect guy.
Slow.
I have the perfect guy here to ask this question. So you deal with a lot of clients, obviously. What are some mistakes that you see brands make when they're trying to enter into this space? I wouldn't
characterize them as mistakes necessarily. I think programmatic digital out-of-home or programmatic out-of-home and place-based media is nascent. And not many brands have tried it yet because, frankly, before integrations with people like Amobi, it wasn't possible. And so I just think this idea that out-of-home can be transacted in a new way, that out-of-home can do more than just tactical branding at the top of the funnel, now can actually go all the way through the middle of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. It's not a mistake. I think it's this realization that brands are coming to. That
a mindset shift.
Yeah, this medium, which is everywhere, which is growing, and which is being infused with technology and content. I think people are beginning to think for the first time, how can I use this in different ways? How can this really be additive to all of my KPIs, not just one or two?
One of the value props I imagine for what you're doing is that it's harder to have an ad blocker on something that's not on my person and not on my phone and out of home experience. Do things like Google Glass or whatever eventually replaces Google Glass in the future pose a potential risk here, and that if I put something over my eyes, I can kind of change reality to whatever I want it to be, including the ads?
Well, a couple of thoughts on that one. Number one, you're absolutely right. I think, look, the dream of place exchange is that you bring everything that's brilliant about out of home, this creativity, this you know, proximity to places of interest, to retail stores, with everything that's brilliant about programmatic, the ability to look at attribution, reporting, and absent of the things that have plagued some of programmatic buying, which is things like viewability, ad blocking, bots. That's the dream. And I think it's very true, and I think that's one of the reasons lots of people are excited about it. Do I think that VR or augmented reality could disintermediate the medium? You know, it's difficult to imagine. I think cities are so brilliant. I live in New York. I travel around a lot. There's so much brilliant stuff to see in cities. I don't particularly see the need to stick on a pair of glasses to overlay it with a load of digitized information. Sure, I think there are certain use cases of that, but I think ultimately some sort of communion with the physical world is what we all crave, particularly because we already spend so much time looking at devices.
For 2019, let's close it out with a big thought. What are you most excited about for the coming year?
I'm most excited about digital out of home finally taking a place at the programmatic table. I'm incredibly excited about speaking to new out of home publishers and working with them and bringing them into the conversation for the first time. And I'm really incredibly excited about working with partners like Amobi to make this dream and vision that some of us had for so long to become a reality.
Dave Etherington, Place Exchange, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And thank you so much for watching. This is the C-Space Influencer Studio here at CES 2019. Keep it right here because more great conversations about the future are in your future.